Week 2 of the NFL season is here, and it's time for some more predictions. First week, I didn't do very well. I went 9-7 on picking teams to win. Hopefully, this week can get a lot better for me, and I feel pretty freaking confident that I'm going to get these boys right. The first Sunday game we're looking at is the Los Angeles Rams versus the Tennessee Titans rematch of the Super Bowl. I don't even remember, but it was like Super Bowl, 35? We'll say 35. Matt Stafford off a solid game against the Texans. Cam Ward off a decent game against the Denver Broncos, but I'll cut some slack considering it was a Mile High Stadium and it was a tough defense. Now, could this game be a trap game for our boys in Los Angeles? It could very well be a trap game. They're home. They're looking hungry. They look decent. I don't think it will be a trap game. I think I'm going to go with the Rams here to win, but I do think it's going to be a close one. I'll give the Rams to win 24-20. But don't be surprised if this Tennessee team comes out guns a-blazing and just shocks the Rams here, because I've seen crazy things happen, and the first 5 weeks of the NFL season are the wackiest ones, so don't be surprised if we see a young rookie quarterback play this good against a playoff team. Crazier things have happened. Pittsburgh versus the Seattle Seahawks. Wow, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense looked really freaking good last week. Aaron Rodgers looked great. No way around it. He looked great. 8 incompletions, 4 touchdowns. What can you say about it? But now they're going up against a better defense in the Seattle Seahawks. Their defensive line is very good. Secondary is pretty good besides Tariq Woolen. Don't know what happened to that guy. He was looking so good his rookie year, and he's just fallen off a cliff. And I think he's going to have his hands full with DK Metcalf this Sunday. But I think Sam Darnold needs to realize he's got other weapons on his team besides Jackson Smith. And Jackson Smith is great. We love Jackson Smith at the Chopping Lemon Studios over here. We love him. We think he's awesome. But you still got Cooper Kupp, and I don't think he's washed. You don't just get washed that easily. He has to have at least some juice left in him. And you obviously got Charbonnet, Kenneth. By the end of this game, it's going to be a shootout again. Yes, I think the Steelers' defense, it looks good on paper, but if you're getting diced up by the New York Jets, I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to give them a run for their money as well. JSN is going to go off. I think Cooper Kupp's going to have at least a good game where he gets at least 50 receiving yards, not just one reception. Sam Darnold, you can throw to him, you know that. You know that, right? But I think the Seattle Seahawks aren't starting 0-2 on this good of a team. The Pittsburgh Steelers barely squeaked out a win against the Jets, let up 32 points against them. I think Seattle's going to go there, take care of business, and defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers. 30-24. Jets, Bills. Maybe the Bills coming off one of the craziest, wackiest comebacks in NFL history after they defeated my Baltimore Ravens. We don't need to talk about it anymore. It's the past. It's in the past. We're not talking about it anymore. It's in the past. They had a hard-fought game where they played to the bitter ending against the Baltimore Ravens, and now they're facing the New York Jets, who have an offense that actually looks like could surprise some people. Breece Hall looked like his rookie form again. Garrett Wilson looking great as usual, and Justin Fields looked sharp with his running ability and his passing game. The offensive line of the New York Jets actually looked good for the first time in years. The rookie Armin Membu already looks pretty damn good, and if this guy can do well against Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt, he's going to do good against this Bills defensive line. The Bills defensive line is pretty solid, but it's different, you know? And they're home. Oh, man. 6.5 favorites for the Bills. I gotta take the Bills. The passing game of Josh Allen, running game was just so much, and considering how Aaron Rodgers put up 34 points against them, I think the Bills are still going to win. But I do think the Jets are going to cover the spread here at 6.5, just barely losing again to another team. And I think they're going to lose 21-18. Next game up is the Detroit Lions versus the Chicago Bears. The Ben Johnson Bowl we got here, guys. Now, this is a tough game to call because I thought the Bears looked good in the first half, terrible in the second half. The Lions looked overall terrible their entire game. The logical conclusion to this game is the Lions win, which I'm going to take the Lions. I can't say the Lions are going to lose 2 in a row after going 15-2 last year. Crazier things have happened, but I don't think it's going to happen today. The Bears are still out with Jalen Johnson, probably their best DB on their team, honestly. They kind of collapsed in the second half, and they're going to be in Detroit. And I think that the guys on Detroit are really fired up to face Ben Johnson. Not in a hateful way, but they really want to beat this guy. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown does. I bet Jared Goff does, and Dan Kimmel wants to prove, like, hey, this guy didn't make me who I am. I made myself, dog. The funniest outcome of this game is that both of them just absolutely are horrendously bad. And then the game ends like 6-3. And it's like, how the hell do these guys win 15 games? I don't know. Who knows? It's just how it is, I guess. But give me the Detroit Lions to win, winning 28-17. Dallas versus the New York Football Giants. The New York Giants looked absolutely horrible on offense and decent on defense. And now they're facing the Dallas Cowboys, who overall had a very up and down kind of game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this game is in Dallas, and Dallas is off a loss and having 10 days rest to the Giants' 7 days rest. So it would be a logical conclusion to take the Dallas Cowboys to win here, right? Wrong! I'm taking the New York Football Giants to defeat the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday at 1 o'clock in Arlington, Texas. Listen here. The run game for the Giants did not play very good against Washington. However, they're facing the Dallas' offensive line. And I would say Dallas' offensive line is a bit worse than Washington's, just a smidge worse. And they got some good pressure on Jayden Daniels. But Jayden Daniels is a fast guy. Dak is very elusive, but he's not as quick as Jayden Daniels. And I do think Dak's going to get a lot of passing yards because that secondary is horribly, horrendously bad. Very, 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 very bad. But I do think the defensive line is going to have a much better game against Dak Prescott than they did against Jayden Daniels. They're going to get more pressure on him. Dak's going to need to run, and they got fast defensive ends there. Brian Burns, Abdul Qadir, they're fast. They're not like those slow guys who are chasing Dak. They're not like Jordan Davis on the Eagles, who can get through the line but is slow as molasses. These guys are fast. I think they're going to take a lot of pressure on Dak, and they're going to make this game ugly. You got to make a game ugly for the Giants to win this year. And I do think Russell Wilson is going to struggle because I think the offensive line is going to get decimated again, even though I think the Washington Commanders defensive line is a bit better than the Dallas defensive line. They'll have a little more time to throw. Tyron Tracy should do a little bit better because the run game was very, very bad defensively for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think the Giants are going to win a sloppy, disgusting game that you hate to watch, but you appreciate it a week later. The New York Giants win 16-13 against the Dallas Cowboys. Browns-Ravens. All right. Here we are, back with the Ravens again. I wouldn't put it past the Ravens to absolutely just lose this game on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns. They've done it 2 years in a row. They did it last year against Jameis, and the year before that against P.J. Walker, of all people. Joe Flacco. We know this guy, right? You don't know what you're going to get with him. He could be throwing some $2 checkdowns or some $10 touchdowns. And on the Ravens secondary, it's Russian roulette, man. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you're going to get lockdown defense with some great interceptions or just blown coverages, terrible coverage. It's like Brandon Stevens never left this team, guys. It seriously never. It does not feel like he left this team at all. But I will say with the Ravens, man, the Ravens, although they broke my heart and choked so hard, they choked so hard on Sunday that it made me physically ill. They have a great team. And like the way I describe the Ravens offense is kind of like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You ever see that show? Like, you know, it's like, I'm the Red Ranger and I'm like a dragon, and I'm the Blue Ranger, I got a sword, and I'm the Yellow Ranger, and I'm like, I'm yellow, I guess. That is how I view the Ravens offense. It's like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's so stupid. That's how I view the Ravens offense, like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Lamar's like the red one, Derek's the blue one, Zay Flowers is the yellow one, and Rashad Bateman's the purple one. That is how I view the offense on the Ravens. And I think they can't be stopped by any team. They really weren't stopped by the Bills. They kind of were stopped by the Bills. Who am I kidding? But they're not being stopped by this freaking Browns team, man. They're going to not cover the spread, but a win. 30-20, Baltimore. We got ourselves a great game on our hands. The New Orleans Saints with Spencer Rattler versus Mac Jones in the San Francisco 49ers. If there's any time in the world or this year for the Saints to win a game, it is this Sunday against the Niners team. No George Kittle. No Juwan Jennings. No Brock Purdy. Christian McCaffrey's on a ticking time clock. That guy is on he's on like a freaking coin flip. You never know when he's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt soon. I can feel it in my bones. If it's any week that can win, it's this week. And I think they're not going to do it. Mac Jones has shown to be a solid backup. He was a pretty good backup last year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. McCaffrey's still there. The receiving core is just Ricky Pearsall. Ricky, good luck, buddy. It's going to be a long game. And that is, I think, still enough to defeat this New Orleans Saints team because they're that freaking bad. Give me the Niners to win 17-12 against the New Orleans Saints. Patriots-Dolphins. The Dolphins are favored to win this game. Hell no, man. The Patriots are facing a Raiders team that actually was a pretty solid team. Like, I don't think people will give the Raiders enough credit here. They still got a really good coach. And Geno Smith has shown to be a solid quarterback. Geno Smith, ever since taking over the role as a starting quarterback, has always had a winning record 3 years in a row. So there's a very good chance they have another winning record this year. Patriots are still getting the groove of the things. Will Campbell's getting the groove of things. Drake May's getting the groove of things. Trevin Henderson, young players. And this Dolphins team looks bad, man. Their defense looks horrendous. Tyreek Hill does not want to be there. Devon Achane had to carry hard last week. He did his best. I don't like the odds makers here. I don't think this game's going to be a blowout by necessarily, but I think this Patriots are going to handily win this game and be just easily one step ahead of this Dolphins team. Again, I don't understand why they're favored to lose. I still really like the Patriots a lot. Give me the Patriots to win 24-17. Not a blowout, but they're clearly the better team in this scenario, showing that there are levels to this game to the Miami Dolphins. Jacksonville, Cincinnati. This is an interesting game. The Jacksonville Jaguars look like a pretty solid team. Their defense looked pretty good. Offense looked pretty good. And they're facing the Bengals, who kind of look like shit against the Browns. But that's how the Bengals are. They always kind of start slow. Which is why I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to defeat the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Now, of course, when the Bengals hit like November and they're really good, they would probably dismantle this Jaguars team. This is September Bengals when they struggle. I think the Jaguars are looking pretty good. They got mojo. They got momentum. I think even though Trevor Lawrence may struggle a lot, Travis Etienne looked great. Travis Hunter looked pretty good. Donnie Brown, Brendan Strange, Brian Thomas is going to go off. They got a lot of weapons to score in this Bengals defense. And I think the defense on the Jaguars is probably going to get lit up a little bit. If they get 1 or 2 stops, I think there'll be enough to defeat this Bengals team, and they will win 28-25. Panthers, Cardinals. You want a biggest trap game of the week? You got it right here. Cardinals 7.5 favorites against the Panthers? Hell no, dude. Give me the Panthers to straight up beat the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. I don't know what the record is. I'm going to put up right here, the all-time record between the Cardinals and Panthers. But I feel like the Panthers usually beat them a lot. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just remembering that championship game where they just destroyed them. But I feel like the Panthers, they beat them last year. Remember that? They beat the Cardinals last year. They were looking pretty good at the end of the year. Again, they looked pretty bad in the week 1. I still have hope for Bryce Young. I think he can turn around. He just needs to lock in and cut all the noise out and just calm the hell down. And if you can do that, you can have a great game. And I think the Cardinals starting 2-0. That's insane. That's not happening. Give the Panthers to win 22-21 off a 2-point convert winning the game. Colts, Broncos. Now, this is interesting. The Broncos just barely squeaked it out against the Tennessee Titans at home, and now they're going to Indianapolis, and they're favored -1.5. The Indianapolis Colts looked really good last week. Now, granted, it was the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are horrible. But Daniel Jones looked pretty good. He was spreading the ball out. Jonathan Taylor's running well. It seems like the defense has gotten a bit better. The offense looks pretty good. It looks basically the same as it was last year if Anthony Richardson just played like a normal human being. It really comes down to Bo Nix making mistakes. And I think this defense is going to hand it pretty hard to the Colts offense. However, Denver's not home anymore. This is a new season. I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts to defeat the Denver Broncos, baby. Colts starting 2-0 with Danny Dimes. Let's go, baby. This could completely backfire on me, but I think Bo Nix is going to do some dumb mistakes, throw a pick. Colts secondary is actually kind of underrated. I think he's going to throw a pick or 2, maybe get sacked, fumbled for a touchdown, giving the Colts a win. Maybe their offense won't play as good as week 1, but I think their defense is going to get a turnover for points and defeat the Denver Broncos. The Super Bowl 59 rematch, Chiefs versus Eagles. Who's going to win? Chiefs look lackluster in Brazil. Could it just be jet lag? Maybe. But could also be that their team is heavily injured now. Also maybe. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles still played a pretty good defensive game against the Cowboys, even with Jalen Carter out. And now he's back. He's got suspended 1 game. They give him a slap on the wrist for spitting on another human being. That's just nonsense, if you ask me. But Jalen Carter back. The O-line not looking that strong. Mahomes can obviously scramble like a madman, but he's going to get sacked eventually, and I think it's going to be enough to rattle him and take away the ball from him a lot. And I do think the Eagles are going to put up a lot of points here and win this game 30-23. Sunday night game, Falcons versus Vikings. What a solid game we got right here. 2 young quarterbacks going at it on 2 pretty good teams. Now, the Falcons just lost on Sunday because Younghoe Koo decided to switch teams and root for the Bucs at the last second. But the Vikings had a very nice comeback against the Bears, and JJ McCarthy showed some great potential. Now Minnesota's at their home opener against the Falcons, and I really, really like the Minnesota Vikings here. Brian Flores' defense looks very good again. The offense is not going to start off slow like last time, and I think they're facing a weaker pass rush in the Falcons. Obviously, their secondary is very good, but a weaker pass rush in the Falcons, and I think JJ McCarthy is going to have an even better game than he did against the Bears. Maybe throw for 200 yards, rush for 50, and get a pair of touchdowns, with the Vikings winning 28-17. 220. Monday night game, the Bucks versus the Texans. This is a fun game we got right here. The Houston Texans did jack all against the Rams on offense. They just went the field, kick field goals, and C.J. Stroud was running for his life like a Looney Tunes cartoon. Now he's facing the Bucks, who have a worse defensive line, but again, I wouldn't put it past this Texans O-line to just fold under the gust of a wind of pressure, because they definitely would. So you never know how it's going to go, but I feel like they're way better at home. Nick Chubb had a solid game. I think he's going to continue that, and I think the Bucks are going to have a little bit of a setback here. Baker's a wild man. We know Baker's crazy as hell. He's going to whip that ball. He's going to throw at least one pick. If you want to guarantee on Monday, guarantee Baker Mayfield is throwing at least one interception against the Houston Texans, because it's going to happen. This man's wild. He's in Houston on the road. He's going to throw at least one to one of those guys. Petrie, Gardner Johnson. He's going to throw to one of them. One of them's getting an interception. So I think this one's going to be a really fun one, and I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game, showing that Texans offense actually has life in it. And I think they're going to win 31-27.